What is up, kinfolk? I'm gonna start off by this. I know how I look. You don't have to tell me. I just got out of the bathtub and I'm home. If you haven't noticed, I like to be comfortable. So we're being comfortable today. But I saw that JustPearlyThings, which is a channel that I love and enjoy watching, as well as Destiny, have both collaborated on a podcast together. So I'm gonna watch that. I started a couple minutes in. I felt like it was some pretty good points. One of the things I was happy about is that Auntie Jenny was also on the podcast. Auntie Jenny typically has like a sense of reason that I personally rock with. So we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna get this started. This is gonna be a long form one, so not a lot of funny cuts and stuff like that. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Excuse me, Destiny. Do me a favor, Destiny. Put your head back a bit. I want to see her call me out. Call me out on what I said. I said your faith was weak, right? Right, let's go there. You want to go back in the past and embarrass yourself again?
Do you want to scream? Is that what you want? Let's go! We on the street!
On a whole, you might be an average person, but you're not going to perceive yourself that way because you push yourself forward in some areas that make you not average, and hopefully you're looking for other people that plug into that, those above average areas.
You know what? Can I just add a comment was made? Okay, goodbye. Go. Okay, because...
Listen, how many bodies you got?
Oh my God, get out of my apartment. Get out. Oh my.
So apparently got a little heated. All right.
Okay, hold on. Can I just, for my own safety?
What's a man's place?
A man's place is to look after me, make sure he's got my best interests at heart, and he has to make the final decision, which improves both of us. His final decision will always be in my benefit.
Mm-hmm. So when he's not there to look after you, who's looking after you?
I make sure that I've got a man. So any decision I make, even for me being on the podcast, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. Because before I decided to come on the podcast, I asked his permission. People might think that's really strange. I said, what is your permission? What do you think about it? This is what I'm going to do. And there's certain things he didn't like. So I told Pearl, you know what? I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do whatever. And then we came to a conclusion. But the final decision is always his. And I trust him with it because he'll always have my best interests at heart. And I'm a trained mechanic.
And maybe that's because you've got a good man.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Even if you're a good man, that sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, maybe because I can't do what you just said.
So it's funny because I mentioned in a couple videos ago, personally, that is how I was raised. So it also comes down to perspective. How I was raised is that the man does make the final decisions, but it is a partnership. I weigh things out. I try to. I'm a woman, so I do have, everybody's emotional, but I do get emotional about certain things. So for me, when I hear women get upset that their significant other tells them, hey, I don't want you to wear that because it's too revealing, they get like, well, you're not my dad. I shouldn't have to ask permission. For me, if I've developed enough trust and respect for my man, what to dress versus us actually just having a good evening. If us having a good evening and him not stressing out is purely me changing an outfit, I'll still look good and he'll like it, but simultaneously, because some people, depending on the guy you're with, if you're really wearing revealing clothes and he can either be insecure or very protective, to have a guy who comes up to you if y'all ain't together and, that could potentially start a fight, all this stuff, and he's like, or he just doesn't want to have everybody looking at you like a piece of steak. He's like, listen, babe, just change it. For me, it's not a hard ask to change my outfit, right? But that's because I've developed enough trust and respect, and I feel like women who have that type of a mindset don't have enough trust and respect of their man, or just, we're selfish. I mean, we're human, we're allowed to be selfish. To the point where it's just like, you can't tell me what to do. I'm like, listen, if this is going to cause us problems, this is a simple ask. For the bigger things, however, that's a conversation, right? We're talking about where we want to live. He would definitely have the last say in things, but it's not just going to be like what he says goes. If it's something that he still wants to go ahead with, I'll be like, okay, once again, I trust you. that's why I'm willing to do this. And it's tough. It does require a level of humbleness, a level of selflessness, as well as vulnerability, because if you give somebody that ability to make a decision and things go wrong, you also have to have in mind not the sense of wanting to be like, and I told you so attitude. Does that make sense? But anyway, that's just my perspective.
Can't. Because that's you
Why
putting
is that
all the
ridiculous?
trust.
Why is that
Yeah, I want to
ridiculous?
hear why.
Why? Because why would you need permit? Like, there might be boundaries within the relationship. So, for instance, like, I don't want you to do like a pearl like strip show dance thing with like male strippers. Like, I can understand that because that's like boundaries of the relationship. But in terms of like, I need your permission to do a show because I like if your boyfriend or husband or whatever, if he's not like in this world, you probably know better than he does. Like, what's better for you? I'd imagine.
But
right?
the thing is, we're both not in this world. We both don't know about social media. He didn't, and it's blown up.
Well, but you're in
blown
this world
up.
now, right?
Right.
Yeah, but I still had his permission, so there might be certain things that have developed since me being on the podcast that he doesn't agree with.
But how
so
do you
I
know
will
he's
cut
got your
them
best
back.
interest at heart?
I mean, if you pick a good guy, I mean,
He's a good guy.
yeah.
But imagine if he didn't have a good guy. So
Yeah,
all
this
the
is what
women
I'm
that are
trying to
trapped
say.
in abusive
Well, and also you never know if you ever.
And this is also, to her point, she has 32 years of marriage. She knows. This has also come up from, and this is where I say you have to be humble, you have to be selfless as a woman, and you're definitely going to have to be vulnerable, because in order for you to get to this place at 32 years in your relationship to say, hey babe, we're going to have a conversation, there had to have been multiple conversations from year 1 to year 32 for her to come to this conclusion that he has my best interest, and she had to have the humbleness and the willingness to be vulnerable for her husband to make that decision. And when things went bad, because not every decision's a good decision. When things go bad, how you even handle that? Like, is that a fight? You know what I mean? One of the things that I love about older people and older couples is that, you know, a lot of what they tell you a lot of stuff. Like, before my grandmother passed away last year, one of the things that she told me, make sure that you realize that your relationship is nobody else's. Don't have a whole bunch of ears in your ear. She's like, at the end of the day, definitely seek advice and seek counsel from people who have wisdom. But at the end of the day, your relationship is your relationship. She's like, your parents are going to have something to say about your relationship, about your man, how he is this, how he's not that. And you have to have the strength as a wife, because if you're dating, that's different. But as a wife, to say, hey, mom, respectfully, dad, respectfully, this is my man, this is my relationship. I'm going to need you to back off. Another thing she told me is when it comes to your relationships, be very careful who you talk to, especially your girlfriends. She's like, because sometimes your girlfriends, y'all are cool, but then when they get to see how your man acts, how he treats you, and how he's a great guy, and if they're not experiencing that same level of love and compassion from their man, she's like, they might try to take yours, and every single time y'all have something bad going on, they in your ear telling you all this bad stuff, and he ain't this, he ain't that, because they secretly have jealousy in their hearts. So, just like old people in general have like a lot of wisdom. When it comes to Auntie Jenny, it's like, you know, granted, I'm blowing up on social media, but this is a world that we're both not knowledgeable of. I'm coming into knowledge of it, but because I'm also connected to you, that's going to have, and it can potentially play some part in your life. Like, you know, this last year we've seen a lot of people lose their jobs for politically how they've come out, for coming out and saying that they believe in certain ideologies and that they don't believe in certain ideologies. So that can affect your job. It can affect your family's job. People have had death threats. So I would say 100%, like, having a conversation with your significant other, especially if you're married, is a great thing. It's not that you're asking permission. It's because any decision that either of us makes affects us both. So we both need to be on the same page in terms of making the decision. And that even if it's a decision I don't agree with, being like, all right, babe, I don't necessarily agree with it, but I'm going to trust and support that you got our best interests at heart and that you're moving with the family in mind. That's if you've had a man who you've, like I said, it's not testing them, but life is going to test the relationship. So when things come up and he makes decisions and things go in a proper way, being supportive when you don't agree, for sure.
a good guy until you don't.
And
can I just say,
to leave that.
don't you know yourself better than anyone?
No, not necessarily, because I'm human. I got bad things and I got good things. I'm just as bad as anybody else. And I will always take other people's opinions. And then when he says stuff, I don't always take it as hard as Pearl knows, because thanks to Pearl, you know, sorted out a few pill problems where I've had to, like, you know, stop, like, being stubborn.
But you've given another human authority over your decision making in life.
Sorry, can I add something
power.
onto that? Auntie, what you said is the exact same situation with me. I have a fiance and I would not come up here unless I've spoken to him about it and he's actually agreed with it. So the only reason why I'm sitting here is because my fiance doesn't have a problem with me sitting here.
But can I ask you something, right? When you go out on the street, which a lot of people don't recognise, when you go out and you dress and you speak, who do you represent when you go out? As a woman in a relationship.
Your man, yeah.
Right.
100%.
So when you're at school and you're in uniform, you represent the school.
Yep.
When you go out as a child, you represent your parents.
Yep.
If you have a man, you represent your man.
Right.
You're a couple. So people are gonna know that if he sees you on a podcast and you're doing God knows what, you're going to represent him. People are going to know that's so-and-so's woman.
Yeah.
So you have to listen to him. You don't tell, he doesn't tell me what to do, but I have to take his feelings into account.
Wait. Do you flip
That's
that? Do you
fine.
flip that and just say, does he represent you as well when he's doing stuff?
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
Well, then do you have authority over him to give him permission to do stuff or not?
Yeah, certain
Yeah,
things.
he won't do anything.
No, but
we discuss
feminists won't do that.
everything.
Yeah, I think it's not a permission thing. I think that's I don't want to say semantics, but I think the people see like permission and obedience, like that's what it is. It's like it's a conversation. Like, babe wants to go out with the boys tonight. Like, babe, I don't feel comfortable. If you guys have developed a relationship built on trust and respect, he'd be like, all right, boys, I'm not going out tonight, right? Or he might be like, hey, listen, I think you're tripping, and I'm gonna go, right? And so it's always a conversation that's being had. When it comes to social media and stuff like that, I've come up with my own personal rules previously, even before I got on YouTube, about how I did not want to have my relationship on the internet, because if anything went wrong in the relationship, now I don't have to just answer to you and my close people and your close people. I have to answer to everybody else who's outside. And that was my mindset. And then when we broke up, it was interesting how he was having people who weren't necessarily invested in our relationship, but something as simple as going from in a relationship to single on Facebook, everybody who is asking questions, wants to know what's going on. And that's already enough stress dealing with a breakup as it is, but to have all these other people in your ear and wanting more information is a whole nother thing on top of that.
It works both ways.
But you said you have your
But he has the final decision.
It's not equal. You said
He
you have
has
your
the
place.
final decision.
Guys, we need one at a time.
Auntie, finish your point.
Yeah, he has the final decision. If he's going to do something and he says, oh, I'm going to do that, and I'm like, do you know what? I don't agree with that. Because it's been so long, 32 years and counting, because it's been so long, he will know that there must be a reason behind it that I don't agree with him. Now, he will either listen to me, as I would do him, because I don't have to take everything he says as gospel. It's up to me whether to take it or not.
But you're
And
basing it
9
on
times out of
32
10,
years.
I will listen to him rather than listen to my
Right.
friends.
But look, what
Because
about us?
women
What
will
about
finally
most of
listen
us?
to their friends.
What about most of us that haven't had 32 years? And so are you saying that I've been with my man 2 years and I must, what he says goes? This is what my struggle is.
What I'm trying to say is
You've
that
been able to build that trust. You've
need-
been able to know that he's got your best interest at heart.
Yeah.
You've been able to know that he has your right intentions. But most of us haven't had 32 years to practice all that.
Do you know
So
something?
I can't adopt your position.
Can I say something? Do you know something?
Ooh, and that's the problem. If you want to get to her place, you're going to have to adopt her position, that regardless of how you feel, whether it be 1 year or 2 year, and this is also my perspective as well, I don't feel like you should marry anybody or be in a relationship with somebody that you don't think you trust. At some point, you're going to have incidences that come up. You have to be vulnerable and humble enough to have that thing. If you don't trust somebody with your decisions after 2 years of dating and now you guys are talking about marriage, dare I say I would tell you to hold off. The basic foundation of y'all relationship isn't even there. Like I said, if you can't do it, it means you don't trust them. Don't move forward in the relationship or work that out in the relationship if you think you could and you think that person's worth it. Right now, the dating stage is our lives are practically separate. But now when we're married, our lives are literally at stake. Our decisions can make or break how we live, make and break our how our children end up. Like, it's very serious. So if you can't handle the small things, how can you be expected to handle the big things like a marriage? I don't think you could.
All right.
Yep.
You as a woman would know within the first 6 months whether that man is for you.
I can't say
Fair.
that. I married a man that
I would know.
didn't end up
whether
being the same man.
Me personally, I would know. I was a single parent, just like you. I was a single parent. And we split up. But when I met him back, he was a single parent. So I know that anything he says, if it jars in my heart, I have to think to myself, you know what, that don't feel right. Let me discuss it. But if I think to myself, I am not going to be at a detriment, then I'll go with it because it's not harming me. So if I think in my head as a woman that what he's saying doesn't benefit me or harms me, I will discuss it. And then, because it's not the fact that, oh, what he says goes. I will discuss it with him and I want to hear where he's coming from. Because, all right, then, for instance, you got a man and both of you have a favorite artist. And the favorite artist gives you 2 free tickets to go. And then your man looks at the ticket and says, you know what? You're not going. What would you do?
I ain't going.
This conversation couldn't happen with my man anyway.
No.
Honestly, I think the modern
I ain't going, because the way I see it once again is this is a small speck of a life event when we have hundreds and thousands more to experience with each other if he is indeed the guy I really want to spend the rest of my life with. One event is not going to kill my relationship. Unless it does. And if it does, then maybe y'all shouldn't be together anyway. And even 6 months, I think the biggest thing for people too is recognizing that, because she said in the first 6 months, it takes time for people's true colors to show. But there's also the aspect which comes with relationships too, especially in the infatuation honeymoon stage. You will make excuses for certain things that are inexcusable. And then in a year down the line, you were like, he never used to do this. It's like, yeah, you didn't think so. You thought it was cute when he had a little temper. But now that temper is like full out. At the time, you made an excuse for it, and you were like, oh, he was just upset, he had a bad day, something else happens, and he has another excuse for it, and you keep making excuses for it. And the more and more he gets comfortable, the more and more he realizes that she's okay with at least this part. When it goes full blown, you're like, I never seen this before. This is why I think it's also great to have some form of wisdom when it comes to your relationship and having people you trust genuinely. And typically, I would say adults who are older than you who have successful relationships. And I say successful because not necessarily having a long-term relationship necessarily means it's successful in my eyes. I've seen lots of people who've been married for 40 years who just stick it out because that's what they're supposed to do. But their marriage life is absolutely garbage, and I would not want it for myself. But even them, they could tell you certain things about, hey, these are some things I would have done differently. I think that getting perspectives from people who are married is a better perspective than none at all.
Relationship is way too the modern relationship that I'm looking for is way too equal in terms of opinion and position. There's a conversation. It's about what's making me happy. And if it's taking my best friend to that concert, he wants to see me smile and he wants to see me happy. That's what's going to happen in that concert.
But you didn't answer the question.
So the question was,
I asked you, what would you do?
Is like when he asks you to do something that you don't want to do,
we're
or
talking,
to not go somewhere that you want to go to.
I will consider his feelings, but if it's in my best interest, I cannot put myself. The only man or the only being is God that can tell me by speech, by
But God
prayer,
always says-
Okay,
by whatever, by message.
God says
what's-
obey your
Obey
husband.
your man. The man's
He's
the
not my
head.
husband. This
The
is what I'm
man's the
trying to
head.
say. He's my man. He didn't put a ring on it.
But
That's
then
what I'm saying
you should
about.
be listening. You
I
should be with
can't
him until you put the ring on it.
Right, but what I'm trying to say is, if I'm a feminist, what does it mean for me as a single woman? That's what I'm trying to understand from this conversation.
Okay, so can I try to add a little bit of context on it? Because it's like so basically, what they're saying is, okay, so yes, working, taking out the rubbish, doing all of these things are seen as masculinity, right? However, I don't think we're speaking in that regard because obviously these are things that have to be done. You have to take out the rubbish, you have to work, you have to do these things. But I think we're, especially as a single person, however, we're basically saying, but you're still a feminine. That doesn't make you masculine. What makes you masculine is when you're like, so let's put everything in context now. So I made the same statement as Auntie, right? So I'm going to put things into context. If I wanted to go shopping in Tesco's, for example, I don't need his permission.
No.
Right.
Because I'm going Tesco's and I'm doing food shopping. If somebody invites me to a club or some kind of event, then I need to sit down and speak to him and explain to him where I'm going, what type of event it is, what kind of people are there. All right, let's say, for example, I put an outfit on and I put on a short dress and my breasts are revealing, okay? Now, if he says to me, you look nice, babe, go out and have a good time. As soon as he's finished that sentence, me and him are done. Because me, I can't be with a guy like that. To me, that's a simp, okay? So if my man or my husband says to me, you need to go back and you need to change because what you're wearing is inappropriate. Now, look, a lot of people will be like, no, why I can wear what I want if I want to wear, but you're not thinking, because if you're going out with your husband, right, and you go to a club or a place and you're wearing a short skirt and your breasts are out, there's a huge possibility that you're going to put your husband in a situation.
No, but he's next to me. My man is next to me.
Okay, wait, let me land. Let me land, okay? So, for example, my fiance, right? If me and him went out to a place, and he wouldn't let me wear that anyway in the first place, but let's say he did, and we went out to a place, right, and a guy comes and taps my bum.
But why would he do that?
Because they do that.
Well, because I'm wearing a short skirt.
Yes,
they do that.
Yes, I've seen that many times.
But you can also do that in jeans too, right?
Yeah, but,
But still,
it's less likely.
it's less likely, right? And if he does do that,
If I had a BBL, you will tap my ass.
not necessarily, but look, we have to go by intentions. If I come to a place and I'm properly covered up, jeans, and a guy does that, he's getting smoked, right? There's no ifs or buts about it, because this girl is respecting herself. She's dressed up nicely, and you've come out of your way, yeah, and you've slapped her ass. Now, my fiance, if he was with me, right, and somebody did that, there's a huge possibility he's going to jail for life.
But then you're wearing tight jeans. Why not wear this one long skirt in it? If you're going to do modest,
You can wear a long
do
skirt.
what modest then.
Yeah, you can do
no curves, no nothing. That's what you should do then, because you're calling for it also with the little tightness.
Okay, wait, getting away from the clothes. Hold on, getting away from the clothes. You guys, this is what I'm so confused about. And Auntie, you kind of did it and then walked to a more agreeable area. You guys talk about things that are basic relationship norms.
One thing I will say, because I didn't pause it earlier, that I think is something to bring up, is the aspect of, she said, I don't think I can do this because he's just my man. He's not my husband. He hasn't put a ring on it. However, the expectation of a man is to be husbandly while we're in the dating stage. Because how do I know that you're a proper husband if you haven't showed me things about your character, things about you as an individual that would make me say, oh, you're a great husband. I don't want a great boyfriend. I don't want to just be in this, like, relationship where there is no real commitment. I mean, there is commitment, but you know what I mean. The flip side of that is, I don't think she's saying this, but this is what I got from it, is that you as a woman do not have to perform wifely duties, because like she said, like that's like a wife level type of thing, having him make decisions, trusting him, and having those conversations. That's a wifely decision. But when I'm dating you, I don't have to give you that type of, it's not respect. I don't got a word for it, so we're going to use respect for now. I don't have to give you that type of thing in my relationship because we're not married. I feel like that's also, I feel like you're practicing for the actual thing. That's what all dating is. That's all courting is it's the trial run before we actually commit to this thing for the long haul. So if you're not showing me wifely and that you're interested in doing wifely things as a dude, once again, I know it's tough out here in these streets, but you'll find another one.
But you like frame them in the most toxic way possible. I don't understand. So you talk about like, if I'm going to wear something and go out to a club, my boyfriend, my husband, whatever, is going to approve of it, which it, to some extent like can make sense in a relationship context. But if you flip that around, if your boyfriend or husband says, I'm going to go out to party, you know, and there's like 10 girls there and like 2 guys, I imagine you'd have to okay that, right? You'd have to tell him whether or not you give him permission to do that, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys frame these things like my husband is the ultimate authority and blah, blah, blah. But that's not true. For all of you guys, it's a back and forth.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to be okaying what he does. He's going to be okaying what you do. That has nothing to do with masculinity or femininity or anything like that. That's just like 2 adults having a relationship, figuring out what the boundaries are.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what do you mean by your place when you say auntie? Because what that's he saying that it is an equal exchange of looking out for each other.
No, I think when
Well, with me, I'm different because if I'm gonna wear a short skirt and something sexy, I'm always gonna wear it with my man. Mostly, I wear it at home.
Hey.
But if I want to go out and I say to him, "What do you think about this?" And do you know what? What Destiny said. What we've been saying is just normal respect for each other. And I respect him and his decisions and his opinions, and he will respect mine. So it's not like I'm blindly following where he wants to go, because if he wanted to go somewhere or talk to certain people, like I've said to him in the past, you know what? I don't like your friends. And as a man, I would say, I'm not going to say don't go out with them. I'm saying this, watch out for this. This is what I spotted. This, and this. And I'll let him go ahead. And eventually he will know, you know what, you were right. So it's just about respect. But I find that these modern people now, they don't have the basic respect for each other in the
100.
relationship.
So what happens in like
100.
lesbian relationships then?
I don't know.
I don't know. That ain't my ministry. I'm gonna just say it right now. To Auntie's point, it's a basic level of respect, and also kind of piggyback off of a previous point when they're like, "Don't you know yourself more than anybody else?" It's like I would dare say no, because sometimes you're so close to a subject that you're blind to see exactly what's going on around you. When you're too close to the subjects and too close to the people in your life, you will excuse a lot of stuff. This is what happens with families. You will excuse a lot of stuff, and then you end up in a relationship with somebody, and they're like, "Listen, your family manipulates you. Your family does this and this. And for you, you're just used to it because like that's just all I know." But having somebody from an outside perspective come in, this doesn't even have to be someone you're dating. This could be a friend and just like, yo, how your mom and dad treat you is crazy. Like, this dang near, like, abusive in some areas.
Well, again, like, I think to be clear, everything that was said, everything that was said is fine for relationships. There's not like a masculine, feminine. Like, when you start talking about, you're going to talk to your partner, you're going to make sure that they understand where you're coming from. Hopefully you love each other and you know each other. Hopefully you both have each other's best interests at heart, and then you advise
But
on
I
that.
just think at the end of the day, someone wears the pants. Like, someone's leading and someone's following.
It's
like
no.
Sometimes it's reversed, but at some point, like, you have to trust someone's leadership.
That it's going to depend on the domain that you guys are experts in, right? So you said you were a mechanic, right? So I'm guessing that traditionally men are going to have the say over the car because men tend to know. But I'm guessing you probably know more than your husband does, right? If he comes back with a 50-pound bill for blinker fluid, you're probably going to.
But you know something?
You're probably going to make fun of him, right?
But you know something, right? As Pearl knows, and as you most probably know, yes, I'm a mechanic. But he's more stable-minded than me. And as you know from the shit car that I picked you up in, right? Because I must have been having a blind, non-mechanic, feminine moment where I just went in and asked for the cheapest car with 4 doors, and you saw it. The car's a piece of shit. It's for somebody single. It's not for someone that's got 3 grandchildren, because 3 grandchildren mean fills the car. But whereas he hasn't seen the car yet because I didn't discuss it with him, and he's going to look at me and say, "Why did you get that car?" Yes, I could take it back, but I've decided to punish myself for being such a stupid woman and choosing such a stupid car when I was feeling in my most feminine moment. So yeah, I can do that. But whereas, even though I'm a trained mechanic, and then my nails, and there's certain things that he will do in the car. No, I won't say that. Most of the things he will do. I always say your brake light needs doing, but he expects me to do the brake light because I'm trained to do just the brake light.
I'm just saying that in every relationship, like, both sides are going to know.
There's going to be some level of understanding in a relationship. For instance, if my husband is a chef, I'm going to know how to cook. But best believe if he wants something at a high level, that's his domain. That's what he's good at. So I would have not necessarily expectation that he would cook, but I'm going to have an expectation that whatever he cooks is probably going to be 10 times better than mine because that's what he's good at. Versus like if I'm into plumbing, like granted, like he could probably get behind the toilet and do stuff, but it might not look as good. It might still have leaks because that's not what he's trained for. You're gonna trust your partner on certain levels of knowledge. Relationships are 100. They're not 50-50, which is also the issue that we see when it comes to relationships now. It's always this equality, splitting it down the middle. I'm like, listen, I'm gonna give you all of me. My expectation is that you give me all of you. And if you are unable to do that, that is totally fine. We will go our separate ways. But having this, I feel like having this equality thing, it kind of brings in like almost like a tally system. Like he did this, I did this, but it wasn't as good. So I'm like, it's always this competition, if that makes sense. When it's just like, hey, we both love each other and we're going to do the best we can to build our empire, whether that be, a business, whether that be our family. We're both going to do the best because we want to defeat the competition. That being life, that being other couples, whatever it is.
I agree with you, but the last decision, you see, with me, we would discuss stuff. And I will say this, and he will say that, and then I might be right, and he'll say, you know what, go with you. Or he might be right, and I'll say, go with you. But if we come to a stalemate, I will say, do you know what? We're going to go with you because the decision is all yours. Because if the shit hits the fan, me as a bitch woman, I will say, do you know what? You made that decision. So the final decision is always his. Whether he agrees with me or whether I agree with him, I prefer the final decision to be his because he has to deal with it.
I just think personally the ideal situation is when you're with a guy that you can trust his decision making. And I think the girls that I see where they wear the pants in the relationship, they're miserable.
Ooh, I got a story. I've only been in 2 relationships, currently in one, but my last one was, I felt like I was a mother, not a girlfriend. The day I lost respect for him, like anything that came out of his mouth, I was just like instant eye roll in terms of doing certain things. Because in my mind, I'm like, we should be at a certain point in our lives. I shouldn't be telling you how these things go. I can't even give examples. I could just tell you there was one day I literally looked and I was like, I lost respect. I'm like, this is like a child. Once again, if you're dating somebody with the intention of marrying them and you're looking at them and you're feeling this type of way and you're just like, I can't see myself doing another 5 years of this, another 10 years of this. People can change, but at this stage in the game, we're in our mid-20s. I don't see him changing much. We're pretty much set in our ways. And this is how I'm supposed to... Now, God forbid we bring a child into the world. Not only do I have to baby you, I have to deal with them. And it's a whole nother thing. You know what I mean? I don't really know how to describe it. I'm sorry. But yeah, I've had that aspect. And it was not a pleasurable experience for me.
Oh my God, they're miserable.
It just depends on the thing. There are plenty of women where guys wear the pants and they're miserable too. There are lots of people in miserable relationships.
Does it happen both ways? Sure, at times. I've just seen. I think that when women wear the pants, they're miserable.
Yeah, something right.
What I don't understand in a relationship, can I just say, why does someone have to wear the pants? Why can't we make decisions together? Why can't we make decisions together? Like he said, if you have more expertise in that field, say okay. Like if I'm trying to make a decision with my man now, I know about properties, right? Say he doesn't know anything about properties. I'm going to be like, oh, babe, because I bought a property, this is what I'm going to tell you. And because he's probably, like, men know more about cars. I don't know about cars. I will never tell my man anything about cars because I assume because men seem to know more about cars, and if he has a nice car, he's been driving for a long time, I'm going to think, you know what? That's his field. Why does it have to be someone wear the pants?
Do you know something, right? That's what women understand. When they hear about a submissive woman, do I look like a woman that just does what her man says? No. I want to take, for instance, you. My man is a saver. I like to invest in property. He has got more money in the bank than me. I have got more properties than him.
Well... My laptop decided to stop screen recording, which means that more than likely I am out of DSP. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to just cut it off right there, kinfolk. I hope you enjoyed the video thus far. I definitely want to finish this podcast. I don't know if I'm going to film it or not. But anyway, hope you enjoyed it. If you have made it this far, feel free to leave a comment down below expressing how y'all felt about the video, as well as leave a like and subscribe for future videos. And as always, kinfolk, you know I love you. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.